Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Neil Davis. I'm the Chief Instructor for Horizon Security in the UK. I want to speak to you over the next 10 or 12 minutes. I want to talk about, I want to expand on what Professor Button had said before about the SIA, the regulations and the constraints that they impose on the security industry. And then I want to talk about how Horizon fit into that. Just to give you a very brief background, I was 24 years in the British Army and 6 years with British intelligence. Some of the courses, some of the skill sets that we're going to see during this presentation, myself and my colleagues, we've taught them all over the world. The Security Industry Authority Act of 2001 was initially started to bring in more regulation and more transparency to the security industry. Up until that point, to become a close protection officer or to become a door supervisor or any form of security guard, there was no regulation. And because there was no regulation, the industry had some bad apples coming into it. So the two main functions that the SIA brought into place was to regulate the individuals that wanted to join the security industry, and also to manage the approved contractor scheme. And the approved contractor scheme were training providers like Horizon who have been approved by the SIA to conduct security training. As you can see, the licensing ensures that private security operatives, people who want to go into the industry, that they're fit and proper people. Because to work in the industry carries a great deal of responsibility. The impact of that, and the impact that's been seen over the last 15 years, has been that there's raised standards in the security industry across the UK. And because these standards have been raised, the impact of that is that there's more confidence from the general public about the security industry. I'm going to concentrate here specifically on close protection training. And as part of the SIA criteria, there are 14 different skill sets that we teach for security operatives to obtain their close protection license. I'm not going to talk about them all, but what I will say is that there is a misconception, certainly in the UK, there's a misconception that to be a close protection officer doesn't take much academic education. And that's something, certainly at Horizon, that's something that we completely disagree with. We would argue that to be a responsible and an effective close protection officer, that one needs to use one's brain before anything else. As part of the transparency that the SIA Act, the Security Industry Authority Act, was brought in for, was to regulate people with criminal records, and to prevent them from joining the industry. And that in itself would then promote that public confidence among security operatives. Now, it's not that you can't become a close protection officer if you have a criminal record, because you can. But it would all depend on how relevant the offences were, how serious the offences were, and how recent the offences were. Where Horizon fit into the SIA, we are on that approved contractor scheme. Horizon are top UK training provider of close protection training, and that's where we fit into that. We work all over the world. We have training centres in Eastern Europe, we have training centres in the Middle East. Hopefully with Allamikorea, we have a training centre here too also. And to help fulfil our responsibility to the SIA, or the responsibility that the SIA places upon us, all of our instructors are from either the Royal Military Police Close Protection Unit, or from UK Special Forces, or from UK British Intelligence. To get your SIA accreditation, then we have to have a proven record in the provision of security and medical training. That's a stipulation that the SIA put upon us. We will tailor our needs for any organisation, irrespective of what kind of security or medical training they require, because we believe that the training should be flexible and it should fit the training audience. There are a number of accreditation organisations who will accredit security and medical courses, and some of them up there, some of them you'll have heard of. The SIA is one. We have Pearson's, Edexcel, QualSafe, the Royal College of Surgeons in Edinburgh, they accredit our medical courses, and we have City and Guilds. And we're also accredited by the Health and Safety Executive in the UK, which is very, very important. Some of the SIA approved training that we deliver, we deliver these courses all around the world. I'm just going to talk about a couple of them in a little bit more detail. But one of the first types of training that we deliver is the Hostile Environment Awareness Training. And we conduct this training in our own urban training centre in Scotland, but we can deliver this training anywhere. And it specifically focuses on not just close protection officers, but also unarmed journalists, news crews, independent travellers. We can deliver this type of training to them also. The next course we're going to talk about is the close protection training. Now, the close protection training, this slide that you see up here is more geared toward armed and hostile countries. But there is an executive branch of this, there's an executive close protection course that we run as well, and we put it in together in one. And as part of that training, we can do travel security, and we have had a couple of our instructors that have travelled around the world with some UK football teams and some British executives. This next course, this is it's also an SIA requirement that all security operatives, whether you're doing close protection or whether you're doing static guarding, they all must have conflict management training. And this is where, when I mentioned earlier on about being a close protection officer, you really have to use your brains more than anything else to prevent yourself from getting into those types of situations in the first place. There is a theoretical part to the conflict management where close protection officers will be taken through scenario-based training, they'll be taken through discussions, and they'll be taken through conflict management and the law and legislation of when they can use those skills. But working on the assumption that before you can look after somebody as a close protection officer, you need to be able to look after yourselves. So the conflict management training that we do, the practical stuff that we do, is all based towards close protection officers. Another course that we deliver is the Hostage Survival Awareness Training. And this is a new course that we've brought in, and we've incorporated it inside our close protection course. This is a skill set that we believe is much more relevant now than it was maybe 20 or 30 years ago. No matter what country we go to, whether it be a country in the Middle East, or whether it be in North Africa or West Africa, or even some places in South America, there is an inherent risk of kidnapping in all of those countries from different types of organisations. And although this training, this is not an SIA specification, we believe that it's more relevant now than it ever was. So we've put it into our courses, into our training, to help raise that standard even more. We also conduct Lots of firearms training, and the firearms training is specifically for close protection officers. We teach the firearms within a close quarter battle context. So it's all up close, the weapons close to your body, because we feel that that's the situations that a close protection officer is more likely to get themselves into. As part of our SIA requirement, there's a number of medical courses that we also deliver. Some of these courses are fairly basic, and the other ones are very, very advanced. We also, as a company, we provide manpower solutions for many organisations and many companies that work worldwide. We provide manpower supply for companies like Guard the World, Control Risks, Saraji in Iraq, Minimal Risks, and Page Group in Kabul, Afghanistan. And we train them, and then we deploy them. We have had a number of very prestigious clients over the last few years. More notably, we've got Minimal Risks. We have Celtic Football Club back in Scotland, Guard the World, Aegis. And in the light of the Tunis attacks that Professor Burton had mentioned earlier, we had a very successful contract with the Movenpick Hotel Group, where we went out to their hotels across North Africa and in East Africa to carry out security risk assessments on their hotels. So just in summary then, the SIA, we believe strongly in the SIA. It's got its critics and it's not perfect, but we at Horizon believe it's the best way to go. It has a huge influence across the world, and it's a much sought after accreditation. And in the same way that the SIA has helped to make the security industry more transparent and with tougher regulation, we truly hope and we truly believe that we can also do that here in Korea. Thank you for your time.
참여해주셔서 감사합니다.